Welcome to Momentum, a motorsports podcast powered by High Gear Success. I'm your host, Heather Wilson Schiltz. Here we share the stories and strategies that keep the world of motorsports moving forward. I'm excited to chat with Mark Scherrens, co-host of Moto Adventurer Unscripted podcast and an avid adventure rider. So Mark, thank you for being here. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me on, and good job saying my last name properly.
Well, with my newer last name being Schiltz, I have to educate people on how to pronounce or spell that as well. So I can relate.
Go. That's fair. Completely. I appreciate being on.
So you have been on my list to have as a guest for a while. You probably didn't know that, but I kind of keep a list of potential guests. And I feel like you've been on a media tour lately, though, because you were just a guest on Tall Boys and Trackmasters. So shout out to James and Trevor, also a great show. And you were just updating listeners on more of your backstory with Moto Adventurer Unscripted podcast as well. So it's been like the Mark Scherrens media tour.
You're going to give me a giant ego that I, trust me, do not need at all. But yeah, it has been, it's kind of funny because I used to do all these big rides like way back in the early 2000s, like 100 people, adventure rides. And then I kind of like stepped away from doing that for a long time. And then Drew kind of brought me back into the, I don't want to say spotlight, but off to the side of the spotlight a little bit, so it's a fun ride, man. I like it.
Been adventure riding for, I think I read like 25 years. So what originally pulled you to adventure riding? Was that the first segment of riding that you ever did?
Yeah, basically it kind of was. I mean, I always wanted a dirt bike. My dad had Harleys and stuff my whole life, in and out of that whole thing, and then I just always wanted a dirt bike, but we always lived in the suburbs and there was really nowhere for me to do it. So I got to be like a grown man, like I was 22 or 23, whatever. Got out of college, I'm like, I'm gonna go buy a dirt bike. I bought a brand new TTR 125 LE and taught myself how to ride for better or worse, probably for worse, to be honest. And then I really quickly got tired of riding in circles and went and bought a KLX 400 dual sport bike. It was downhill from there. I really just wanted to explore and check things out more than I wanted to ride around in predetermined loops and stuff. So that's kind of how I got into it.
What was the experience of teaching yourself how to ride like?
It was the complete opposite of everything that I know you teach and preach, and the same for myself. I mean, man, I had like some redneck at work that had like a YZ85 he was riding around on, and we just went out in the woods and he showed me like, all right, man, here's the clutch and here's the throttle, and I did the the classic whoop right into the wood pile, next to the field kind of thing. I mean, I remember I twisted the handlebars and hit my sternum with the end of the handlebars, and it left like the mark of Zorro on my chest. And I quickly realized that I needed to actually learn how to properly ride a motorcycle if I was ever going to get on the street. So there was a lot of things I did wrong trying to do that.
At least you learned that lesson in the dirt, though, instead of on the street, because I hear a lot of stories of people just trying to practice like first time out on the street, which is terrifying to me.
Yeah, the good thing about the dirt, right, is there's generally not any cars coming at you. And it's anything I did was a mistake of my own, not because, the latte spilled in that guy's lap or whatever, and he ran off the road. So learn in the dirt first. And I honestly, I think everybody should learn in the dirt first, whether you actually want to be a dirt rider or not, because it saves your butt so many times when you're on the street and you hit that patch of gravel that you're not expecting. You learn to expect what the bike is going to do when that sort of thing happens. So yeah, I did do that right, but that was about the only thing.
I'm of that same opinion that it's really beneficial to learn to ride off-road before learning to ride on the street. And also like the dirt's a little more forgiving. I'm not going to say it doesn't hurt when you crash in the dirt, but definitely not as much as sliding across asphalt.
Yeah, 100%. Right. And, you get some padding and you get a nice open, helmet, a motocross style helmet instead of a nice enclosed helmet, which, tends to lend itself to claustrophobia and stuff for some people. It's the way to go. It's easier to pick that dirt bike up. It doesn't matter if it has scratches and bumps and bruises, and, you're not destroying your brand new prized street bike that you just bought.
Absolutely. Thinking back to your first adventure rides, how did you get into that? And were you riding with other people, or was it really just a solo adventure for you?
Yeah, it definitely started off solo and then it quickly grew into meeting some friends and things. It was right around like 2003, 2004, the Adventure Rider forum was really popular. It was like its heyday, and Drew and I have talked about this a lot, but I started this group called the Dogs, the Dual Sporters of Georgia, and it was just a regional subsection on that forum, and we just needed a place to post all of our rides and all of our meetups as we started meeting people and having a bigger group to go riding around with. It really formed some good friendships that I still have today. But like before that, I would just go. It's so funny. I lived on this road that had a dirt road behind the neighborhood, and I would ride that KLX up and down that dirt road. Like I must have done it 1,000 times. And all those people on that road were probably going, what is this idiot doing? Until I got brave enough to actually start going out on proper streets and exploring, you know? And I would get this map of the Chattahoochee National Forest, which is the big forest in the North Georgia mountains. And I remember just going out, taking that map with me and in highlighting the roads that I had, you know, quote, discovered on my own, and coming back at the end of the day and trying to remember, you know, what I had done that day and making notes. I mean, I had a paper, you know, with, you know, road names on it and highlighter marks all over it and Scotch tape holding that map, you know, together because it was falling apart. So it was before GPS was really a thing, and you had to do things the old fashioned way. So yeah, kind of went from solo into groups and forming friendships and organizing that way, if that makes sense.
My husband and I are also really bad at remembering like where we've been, or remembering to start like a GPS or like a tracker of sorts if you're using a Rever or something like that to track your
Yep.
ride. So we're people that kind of generally just like to head out and explore, even if we're in West Virginia or somewhere else. Then we always get back and we're like, oh man, I wish we would have recorded that ride, because we really have no idea like where we went.
Yeah, that can be hard. That's where the GPS stuff comes in handy, which is funny because I never use a GPS. I don't think I've once recorded a track that I've ridden electronically. I just, somehow I just have this sense of I don't really get lost. I kind of always know where I am. I have a good sense of direction, and I'll just come back and take that route that was in my head and put it on paper. I like to see the big picture. You know, I still love maps. That's, if I had to choose, it'd be maps all day for that reason.
Do you feel like meeting people today when riding is a lot different or similar to like meeting on the forums back in the day?
It's a good question. I think it's different. Like when we would meet on the forum, I mean, you know, you have anonymity, if I could say that properly, anonymity, you know what I'm trying to say, where you have a code name on the forum, right? And you're not, you know, I'm not Mark, I was known as Flux, right? And so, you know, I remember one time we met up with this lady that we didn't know was a lady rider, and we all showed up and literally walked right by her, as terrible as that is to say, because we didn't recognize her as somebody who was meeting up in the group, right? So my point is, you just didn't know you didn't know their face, you didn't know their age, you didn't know their gender or any of that stuff. Now I think when you meet up, and especially with like Facebook has their rules, like you can't have like a fake name or anything like that. You generally, at least, you know, you can kind of cyber stalk them a little bit and go, oh yeah, I want to ride with Heather. She looks like she's cool to ride with, you know? I think it's different in that regard. You follow me on that?
Yeah, I mean, I was never like on the forums. That was not my era, but it reminds me of like
you're too young
like,
for forums.
It reminds me of like screen names, like AOL,
Yeah.
AIM screen names, and like not being their real identities, which like I guess I knew that about forums, but I kind of forgot that everybody had like their code name, like you were saying. And now it's funny if like people on Facebook or Instagram or any of those other platforms like don't have their profile picture, or it's like a code name, like you call them out for that, because usually they're being jerks about something if they don't have their real name on there. But back then everybody was probably just sharing information. But it was interesting that you didn't really, I think you could post photos, right? But you couldn't really see what the people look like or get a good glimpse of their personality
Yeah,
just
yeah.
from posts.
You could completely post photos all you wanted to. I mean, that's one of the big reasons we started that dog thread on ADV Rider, was just because we would get back from a ride and we all had our pictures that we took, and it was like you weren't texting them to each other back then. So it's like, what do? You host them on Photo Bucket, which also coincidentally destroyed the forum in one fall swoop, right? And now we could all, check out each other's pictures and talk about the ride. So it was it was a weird time. It was like, I feel like there was like 5 to 10 years where the forums were king. And then, like I said, Facebook kind of stopped hosting pictures for free. Facebook, or Photo Bucket, I mean, Facebook came along, and that's no more. So you have to find new ways to form your community,
It is interesting, kind of like blast from the past on just different pieces of technology that, like you said, were like king of the time, and then they just kind of fade away. Like it could have a good 5-10 year run, and then like a whole new generation doesn't even know that stuff existed.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Facebook is a thing for like the next generation. They're not into that stuff. I mean, my son's only 11, but kids just a couple years older than him, they don't care about having all that stuff. So I don't know. They're going to have to meet people the old fashioned way, hitchhiking, or, meeting people at a bar or something like that. I don't know what they're going to do. They got to figure that out. But that's a them problem, not a me problem.
I take it you've probably ridden all over the country. So are there a few places that stand out as hidden gems to you that maybe don't get enough attention as they should?
Yeah, totally. It's I've been lucky to ride all over the country. I live in Atlanta, Georgia, basically like 30 minutes north of Atlanta. So my stomping grounds are like North Georgia, Western North Carolina, Eastern Tennessee. There's all kinds of gems in the Southeast United States that never really get. I feel like everybody talks about the West. You know what I mean? Like the West Coast is the business, and it is the business. I love going to Colorado. We go out there every couple years. But just on the East Coast, that tri-state area of Georgia, North Carolina, Tennessee, it's undoubtedly mile per mile some of the best riding that you could do in the entire country. Not to even mention when you get up to like the Red River Gorge area in Kentucky, east of Lexington and all that stuff. As far as like a gem like that I could name, not really. I think you just aim your handlebars and you start riding, and you're going to discover like the culture changes as you move from county to county. The people tend to change. What their values are tend to change. The topography starts to change. That's what I love about it. That to me, that's the hidden gem, is actually getting out. And yeah, the riding is phenomenal, but then getting off the bike, take 5, 10, 15 minutes and, have a snack. And I always joke around that my favorite thing to do is to sit on a curb of some local gas station and just have a Coke or whatever. And because I ride adventure bikes, most people are not, still, when you get in the boonies, they're not accustomed to seeing that type of motorcycle. They're used to a Harley or a quote unquote crotch rocket or whatever, and they want to ask you questions. They want to talk about where you've been, where you going, that sort of thing. And to me, that's my jam. I love that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Are you a foodie person, or it really doesn't matter? You're
Well, I am a foodie, but I also am not a food snob. Like I will roll up on, a gas station slice of pizza as quickly as I will go in and, enjoy a nice, good, steak cooked to perfection. So to me, I can find the appreciation in a roller grill hot dog as much as I can, anything else. And really, I like to cook myself. Like I hate going out to eat a lot of times because I'm like, yeah, I could have made that at home for cheaper and it would have been better. So yeah, I will eat some food.
Have you done any sort of like moto camping, moto cooking, like while you're out on rides, or not so much?
That I'm not good at because it's too much effort, right? So like by the time when we go moto camping, I hate lugging all that crap with me, right? To have like a quote unquote good meal. Like I could do it, I could figure it out, but to have all that stuff, it takes up too much space. It's too heavy. It's too much effort. By the time I'm done riding all day, I just want to set up my tent. That's number one. When you find your spot, you've got to set your tent up immediately. Do not procrastinate on that. But then I'm like, yeah, I'll just eat like some, boil in a bag, food, out of a jet boil or something like that. And to me, it's just, okay, we got the food. good to go. I do have friends that love to cook when they go camping, and I'll throw in on that any day, and I'll wash the dishes. But yeah, I'm not interested in actually doing the cooking there.
That makes sense. Totally.
Lazy.
Well, I mean, my idea of camping is coming back to our RVs. So
nothing wrong
you don't
with
have
that.
to, you don't have to pack any of that stuff. You just come back and you've got running water, a shower, fridge, sometimes air conditioning or heat, depending on if you need it. So
that's perfect too. I'm all for that. I'll stay in a tent. I'll stay in an RV. I'll stay in I love a mom and pop motel. Like where the outside door opens into the parking lot and everybody can kind of congregate around the bikes and hang out. It doesn't matter to me. As long as it's, cleanish, I'm good.
And for us too, a lot of times we have our 2 golden retrievers with us. So they're hanging out in the camper for the day while we go ride, and then we come back to them. Like, we really don't go anywhere without them. So that's part of the experience for us too.
Do you ever stress out when you're out riding and you're like, I got to get back because my dogs are going to like pee all over the floor if I don't get back, and like running late,
For sure. Also, if it's like hot, like, is the air conditioning going to stay working? Like if we're plugged in at a campground or something, that's like a very real concern. One of our dogs also has epilepsy. So is he going to have a seizure while we're
oh my
gone?
gosh, seriously?
So, I mean, yeah, there are definitely concerns, but also it's like you do have to like get out there and live your life too. So
no doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt. Interesting. I never thought about that before. Something to consider.
Yep. Do you have any like memorable interactions with strangers that happened because you were on a motorcycle? So you talked about sitting on the gas station curb. Is there a story like that, or is there another instance where you met somebody because you were on a motorcycle and had this really interesting interaction?
Well, I've told this story before, but I'll tell you now because it's by far my favorite one. They had one of the old international motorcycle shows that they used to do. They had it in Greenville, South Carolina, and a buddy of mine and I were riding KTM 950 Adventures, and we were riding to the show, and I don't even know where we were, Heather. We were literally in the middle of nowhere. I mean, it was this complete redneck gas station. Listen, everybody, I'm a redneck, so I get it, okay? But this thing was like, it was a trashy gas station. We were literally sitting on a curb having an RC Cola or something. This lady pulls up and she's driving one of those old, Dodge Caravans with like the woody side panel on the side, right? Like it was very aged. Half of that fake wood was falling off of this thing. She looked like Honey Boo Boo's mom, and just my buddy Coates and I just look at each other like, and as she's pulling into the parking spot, she's staring at us, Heather, like staring us down, and we're going, oh, dude, here we go. Oh, man, what is this? She gets out. Now, keep in mind, this is about the time when Charlie and Ewan did Long Way Around, right? So that was the first. I should ask, you've seen that series, right?
I am aware. I don't know if I've ever actually watched the full length, but I know who you're talking about.
Okay, so that they wanted to ride KTM 950s, and KTM basically told them no.
I think I did know that, yes.
Okay, so that's part of the story, and it's a small part of the story, but it's part of it. This redneck lady, Heather, she gets out of the car, and the very first thing she does is she opens that door, and she goes, KTM, that's one of them boys, those boys Ewan and Charlie wanted to ride that bike around the world, but KTM told them no. And we're looking at her like, what is happening here? Like, how did you know about that? So she was a huge fan of Long Way Around, and she loved that series, and she'd never seen a KTM in person. So we got to tell her all about how much we loved riding KTMs, and she went on her merry way, and that was it. But to me, it was a classic case of, cliche as it is, don't judge a book by its cover, because we were totally judging it by its cover, and we shouldn't have been. And she popped out wanting to know about those bikes, and it blew our minds. That's my favorite one.
Well, and still to this day, I mean, obviously KTM Street Adventure has been around for a number of years now, but there is still a huge segment of the population that does not know what that brand is. Like you said, if it's not a Harley, they don't know any other brand. A Harley, a Honda, KTM would not be one that most people would pick out.
It's 100% true. I mean, it's around me in North Georgia, like adventure bikes, they're all over the place, right? I mean, there's so many of them here. You could throw a stone and hit a BMW. But when you get out into rural America, they're still not used to it. You know, you look like something from another country. And back in the early 2000s or whatever it was, late 2000s, that for sure was a thing. So it was crazy.
Well, and like a little bit different personas, right, than Harley riders, and also like how we dress as adventure riders. I always say like we look like space Martians with our adventure riding gear versus the Harley leathers. So I mean, very different pictures painted in people's minds.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the Power Ranger look and all that stuff. But that story blows my mind every time I tell it. I can still, it was whatever 20 years ago or whatever. I can still picture that lady in my mind. It's cool as heck. I love it.
A lot of people are like heavily focused on the bike, like they're tech people, they're gearheads. Is that you, or do you focus more on like the people, the places, the experiences?
Well, I do love the bike, and I've been through several of them. So, I mean, I love the bike. I love the gear. I don't care much about the tech. That's not my jam, but I really like the travel aspect of it. I mean, I've kind of always said that I'm kind of like an explorer or a traveler first and a motorcyclist second, and I don't really know if that's true anymore, but that's how it started. And it's probably 50-50 now. So it I really do. I mean, it's funny. I went riding with our buddy Drew a couple, well, it was actually a year ago now, but he always thought I was joking about my mentality on this till we stopped at a gas station, and he didn't want to take his helmet off. Like, he just wanted to dump some gas and go. And I'm in the gas station talking to the attendant for like 10 minutes, and I come out and I've got like, oh, this guy, Drew, did you know about this road or that road? And he's like, no, how did you know about that? Oh, that dude just told me his entire life story and where all the good roads to ride are. So, I mean, man, the locals always know the good stuff, always. So that's where I really like it.
Yeah. I can definitely see the difference in your two personalities as well. Like Drew has it all planned out ahead of time. He knows where he's going and what he's going to do. Probably not much deviation from that plan versus a little more free spirit. Like you said, you're talking to people, figuring stuff out along the way.
Yeah, we talk about this quite a bit on the podcast too, is like Drew and I have a lot of similarities, but there's a lot of really strong differences. And I think he would just like start having a coronary or something if he had to just ride, we're just going to go that way, dude. And I don't know what roads we're going to take, or I don't know the mileage between gas breaks or what have you. So, and that's cool. I mean, that's awesome. It's good to have a partner on the podcast that actually has everything. He has a plan and he's got goals and all that. I'm not good at that stuff. So yeah, it makes for a good team, I think.
Do you think social media has made it easier or harder to find those travel experiences? Is there things that you've seen online that are like, hey, I want to go there, I want to do that, I want to go to this event, or?
Yeah, I think it's made it a lot easier. And to be honest, I think it's made it too easy. So like, this is where I'm like the old man, like, get off my lawn kind of soapbox, right? Because I always preach that you're never gonna respect, let's just say a fire tower, for example. If you found that fire tower on your own and you just stumbled on it, or you had some sort of inkling that maybe it was there, you're gonna love that. It's gonna be a treasure to you, right? I found this. This is so rad. If somebody tells you exactly what to expect, or worse yet, somebody posts their entire ride video getting to that fire tower, and you know where every rock is on the trail, you know where the ruts are, you know where the obstacle is, dude, why even go ride it? That guy just did it for you. And so I really think that you have to work, or you should have to work for that experience, and not just, that's why I'm not good at following tracks and GPS, routes and all that stuff. I would rather, I go, oh, that looks cool, but that looks a little cooler. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it's definitely personality types in a lot of ways. Like some people love the style that you are talking about, which I feel like I am more of that person than like planning, but also like there's always a time and a place for planning too. And sometimes it's just nice to be able to follow along.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And there's times like if you're going to a completely new area, like we went and rode some of the Colorado and some of the Wyoming BDR a year or two ago. I don't live in Wyoming. I don't know where the good riding is. So I'll use that as kind of like my baseline. And yeah, I might find some stuff off to the side that I decide to take instead, but at least some of the homework is there. So I can't say that I'm like, I just always, I never follow tracks, or I just always have to, aim my handlebars and go a different way. That's not necessarily true, but generally that's kind of my position on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Backing up a little bit too, you said that you worked at a dealership in the past. So
Yep.
How long were you there? What was your experience like working there? How'd you get pulled into that?
Well, I didn't really get pulled into it. I kind of volunteered for it. So I work in landscaping. That's kind of my trade, my job, or what have you. But man, I wanted to get in the motorcycle industry real bad. And I somehow became friends with a couple people that worked at our local shop that's no longer around, and they were multi-line. They sold Triumph, Suzuki, Yamaha, maybe a couple other things I can't remember. But I came in there as sales, and like, Heather, I never sold a single bike. I didn't sell one. I'd sold nothing the whole time I worked there. And I tried it for like a year, but I wasn't really doing it counting on money because I still had my actual job, right? And I ended up doing like event promotions for them, and I ended up managing their like newsletter. And but yeah, it kind of led into doing event promotions, kind of became really what I did. So I would do that in the newsletter, and I had a great time doing it. I mean, I would start organizing like dual sport rides. We'd have like 150 people ended up on some of these dual sport rides, which was a complete mind blow or whatever, just trying to figure out the logistics of that. As somebody who doesn't like plans, right? I went against everything in my being to organize that, but it was a great time. We did a lot of bike nights. Being a Triumph dealership, we had an English pub down the street that we would organize bike nights with. So that was pretty cool. Just to see the turnout and trying to turn those events, which I think is oftentimes missed by dealerships. And you're going to know this way better than I do. You got to turn that event into money. Like, it's great to have the event, but you're a business, dude. And if you can't figure out how to like transform that event where you have 150 captive, heads and helmets at your place, you got to capitalize on that. Right. And so that was the challenge, and I enjoyed it. I was there. I did it a couple of years. I wasn't there a lifetime or anything, but it was a good role.
Yeah, you're definitely right about that. I mean, events I feel like are great, like starts to building relationships with potential customers or maintaining relationships with current customers, more than just like a transactional thing of like, come buy this bike, come buy this part. So If they're having a good time and they get to know you, they get to know the staff. If you're having it at the dealership and they can walk around and touch and feel and see new stuff, like that's going to translate into sales for sure. Do you feel like adventure riders 20 years ago or 25 years ago are different or similar to adventure riders today? I was like pondering this question myself earlier, honestly.
Really?
Yeah.
This is maybe where I make everybody mad, because I think adventure riders, there's so many more adventure motorcycles on the road now than there were 20 years ago. So by default, it's almost like, oh, I used to love this band and they were so awesome. They were so niche and like, it was cool. Right. And then everybody discovered them because they had that one hit that got played on FM radio. And I don't know that it's that cool anymore. Right. Like, there's a correlation there to be made. There's a lot of adventure bikes that never really get ridden. They never really, I don't think you have to go on the dirt to be an adventure bike. So that's not my take on it, but I do think that I see a lot of like my dad being like the classic Harley guy, right? That transferring over to adventure riding type thing. I don't know. There's a lot of information out there now about adventure riding. Not all of it's good, but man, sometimes you see something that's really popular, just full of nonsense. And it's funny, my brother and I were talking about a certain video on YouTube today, and we're like, me and him are texting each other back like, this guy's full of crap, dude. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And he's got 200 billion followers, and they're all taking what he says for gospel, and it drives me nuts if you can't tell. I'm like, dude, this guy, he puts 1,000 miles on a bike a year and then gets rid of it. Give me a break here. So I think people have to filter through the information that's being served to them, and that's the biggest difference in what was happening 20 years ago versus what's happening now. If I had to sum it up in a nice little package.
Yeah, I mean, thinking to some of my experiences too. So obviously, I grew up in the industry. I've known a lot of people. I have a long history in it, and it's interesting when you talk about like filtering information. If you go to events, I can tell who's like, for lack of a better term, talking out of their ass. Like,
yep,
they're trying to impress me and tell me like everything that they know, and like I can tell they don't know what they're talking about, actually, like by them trying to tell me everything that they know. And so, like you said, but other people are listening to them thinking like, this dude's really smart. Like, they know a lot of information. And I'm thinking like, yeah, you're not really cutting it for me.
And do you vocalize your opinion in those instances, or
I do
you
not.
Just sit on your nope? You just go with it.
I usually just smile and nod.
Yep. I find that my mood greatly depends on what my reaction to those types of people are, because sometimes I'm pretty opinionated, right? And I know that about myself. And my wife is always like, you gotta like just give that guy a break, I'm like, dude, no, but other times I'm just like, I don't even feel like dealing with this idiot right now.
I think my favorite ones, maybe to laugh at more now, are like the name drop ones. So like, do you know so and so? Do you know so and so? And like, I'm like, dude, so and so is like basically my uncle. You know what I mean? Yeah. Uncle in quotation marks. Like, yeah, I know them pretty. I'll usually brush it off. Like, yeah, I know them.
I've heard of him.
I don't let on that like literally like he's basically my uncle, or he's my second grandpa, or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah, those are always kind of funny. But going back to what you were saying too, and this is what I was thinking about earlier, the adventure riders of 20 years ago, 25 years ago, I feel like we're more hardcore adventure people. And like you said today, some of the adventure riders, like, and I'm not judging or discriminating against anybody like getting a bike. You can get whatever you want, enjoy whatever you want. Like, that's totally cool. But it's not necessarily that same flavor.
No, it's not. I mean, you look, 20 years ago, I use this example. We didn't have, quote, adventure gear. We had dirt bike gear and we had street bike gear, and you had to mix and match, right? So like, you had to decide, like, am I wearing street boots or full on motocross boots? And am I wearing a roost protector, or am I wearing like a mesh, Joe Rocket leather jacket or what have you, right? Now you got the dude who went into the dealership and, hey, this is great for dealerships, man, but like, hey, dude, we're charging all this. Like, I've got the tooth. Dude, a jacket, it's not uncommon to find a $1,200 motorcycle jacket now. $1,200 jacket, to allegedly just go bomb around in the dirt on. You're out of your mind, dude. There's no way. I spent like $600 on mine, and I feel guilty as hell about doing it, So it's like, yeah, we got the ADV Rider catalog. We got the soft bags with the name brand. We got this windscreen. We did this to the bike because the internet told us we had to, or the bike was going to blow up, and you can easily tell, like, this dude has watched every YouTube video known to man about everything that KTM is going to do, or it's going to explode, and the world is going to start rotating in reverse, and women are going to start crying, and children are going to spontaneously combust because you didn't do that clutch slave cylinder mod, right? It's crazy.
I was really proud of myself lately. I actually just sold a couple sets of riding gear that I had for a very long time. One was like a full-on Alpine Star street suit that I bought when I lived and worked in California. And I don't have a dedicated just street bike anymore. I have an adventure bike and a dirt bike. I haven't worn that gear in a long time, but it was still in pretty good shape. So I was like really proud of myself that I sold that. And then there's some other, I think it was like another set of adventure gear that was older, because I'm like, I have my one set of gear that I wear all the time and I love, and I don't really like switch it up. You know what I mean? I don't need to have like 3 different adventure jackets. I mean, the one that I have kind of does a bunch of different stuff. So yeah, I did start cleaning out the gear closet.
It's I am a self-certified gear. I don't want to say the word for it, but it starts with a W and ends with or. And I love gear. So at one time I thought I wanted to design motorcycle gear, right? And I would still love to do that. Like that'd be a dream job. So I'm always like buying this gear and I'm like, okay, what makes this good? What do I like? What don't I like? And I have a rack behind me just full of jackets and pants and stuff. And I think I wear like maybe one of the jackets. The other ones are just sometimes I'll throw them on, it's good to refresh and clean house once in a while.
You, I know we've talked about Drew a little bit throughout this episode, but you started co-hosting a podcast with Drew Faulkner, Moto Adventurer Unscripted.
Yep.
A couple years ago now, but how did you guys first meet?
We actually probably crossed paths first at there was a Dragon Raid, the Triumph, one of the local Triumph clubs put together something called the Dragon Raid at coincidentally the Tail of the Dragon. And I think we first kind of met there and then didn't really like hang out or talk or anything after that. But I ended up going to one of the Red River Scramble rallies that he organizes, and we met, we talked, we kind of clicked. He, I think, was in a pinch, like a guest kind of canceled out on his podcast last minute. Does that sound familiar at all? And then and then he's like, dude, can you help me out and come on? And I'm like, yeah, man, let's go. And then that was a fun episode. We had a great time. A couple, I don't know, weeks later or months later or whatever it was, it's like, hey, why don't we talk about this topic? And then it just started kind of becoming more regular. And yeah, it was probably like a year and a half ago. It was like, hey, let's officially be a couple on your podcast, and we just started doing these episodes together pretty much. I think now, up until like the last month, we did an episode every single week for the last year, nonstop without fail. The only thing that threw a wrench in it was my son plays little league baseball and I coached his team last season. So towards the end of the season, I wasn't predictable enough to be counted on, and Drew had to take the mantle up on his own again. But when I came back, I felt good because he's like, I missed you, man. So it's been a good partnership. And like, this is Drew's baby, but like, I absolutely love being a part of it. And, we're texting nonstop. It's funny. We don't talk on the phone. It's very rare that Drew and I speak on the phone. It's usually texting each other something or an idea for a show or like, hey man, check out this goon on Marketplace selling his used KLR 650 for 20K or whatever, and then we just save it all for the podcast. So that's, it's for anyone that hasn't listened, it's a usually about 2 hour long podcast, long format kind of thing, which I love because you really get to start knowing, who you're talking to, or getting into the topic. Right.
Well, and finding the right fit for a co-host is like super challenging. And I love that it happened like kind of organically, like you were a guest and then you kind of were friends and then you kind of dive into it, because that working relationship, and it really is a lot of work to put that together. Like you have to be able to balance, like, are we relatively doing the same amount of work? Are we doing the same things? Are we doing different things? And that can get frustrating if you don't have the right partner.
For sure. And like, let me just say this now. I fully know that we do not do the equal amount of work. Like Drew does the work. Like we talk and we come up with ideas and stuff, but like Drew does all the editing, all the shorts, any sound effects you hear, all that stuff. That's 100% Drew. So I basically log on and we talk and we have a great time, and then I log off and he works his magic. But what I really like about it is that he does listen to my input. I really don't just log on and we talk. I mean, he actually values the ideas that I have and the differences that we have. It's like the president and the vice president, maybe not this current one, but like, you don't want a yes man, right? Like you want somebody who doesn't just agree with everything you say. So my favorite episodes are when we go back and forth and we kind of, battle each other a little bit. I think it's fun.
Yeah, I think that's totally rad. And also, like, you guys have guests on there sometimes. So how does that kind of change the dynamic of having 3 of you, or maybe even sometimes 4 of you on there?
Well, as you know, having been on one with multiple people with us, right? Like you got to be real careful not to talk over yourselves. And we're pretty good about knowing at this point when, like, I know when Drew is done talking, right? Or I can see he's coughing and hits the mute mic or something like that. And then we just keep on rolling to cover the other one. We try to let the guest do most of the talking when those episodes come along, because obviously he's the guest or she's the guest, right? And it's like, I want to know what this person has to say about it. But sometimes it takes a while to crack that guest's code and like get them to really open up. That's why I like the long format, because it might take 30 or 45 minutes sometimes for them to be comfortable and just, you know, say what's on their mind, right? Sometimes they don't mind, they get right into it. But yeah, it's a different dynamic. I don't think the attitude changes a whole lot, but it's a little bit of a different dynamic for sure.
Also, kind of on the industry side, you have a creative spirit and you do some freelance illustrating. So how did art kind of come into your life, and how did it tie into motorcycling?
Well, I mean, I thought I was going to draw comic books when I was a kid. So art's always been a part of my life ever since I was a baby. I mean, honestly, I went to school for art. So it's, to me, I love old school, like pen and ink. You know, I can do digital work, but I really don't like it that much. I just like to sit down and start drawing things. Like I said, I thought I was going to draw comic books when I was a kid, and I really worked hard towards that goal. I just didn't go that route, right? For all the different reasons you don't do what you thought you were going to do when you were a kid. I like drawing like rally shirts, like event shirts. Like I most recently did something for, I don't know if you've ever met Ben with Moto Camp Nerd. Do you know Ben?
I think I follow him on social media, but I've never met him or really interacted.
Those are people that you should probably talk to right there, to be honest with you. But I did like an advertisement for him to put in Sam Manicom's new book about traveling through China, you know. So it's just, and like he sent me like some camp food and stuff in exchange. Like I have a job. I'm not trying to make money in this industry anymore or do any of that stuff. It's just for fun. So like if you have something that you need something drawn and you're like, hey dude, does this sound good to you? And I'm like, that sounds fun. Great. Let's do it. If I don't think it sounds like fun, I'm going to just pass it on or let AI and the robots do it for you or something, you know. That's my new current thing, is down with AI, right? But yeah.
I can't stand the AI flyers that all these event organizers are doing.
For you, it's got to be tough to watch. But like, we interviewed a dude named Sam Bendall a couple months ago, and Drew put a short of his on Instagram not too long ago, and it just lit up like fire. But like he's anti-AI, and now he's riled me up because I'm like, yeah, AI, these flyers between motorcycling, restaurants, like my son's little league teams, like all this AI stuff. I'm like, dude, they all look the same. None of them stand out. They're the most unoriginal, like non-creative. This was cheap and easy for you to do. Like, put the effort into advertising your service or business that it deserves. Don't take this cheap, easy, non-creative way of doing things. But yeah, it's insane.
We could have a whole non-moto related episode on AI and my really complex feelings on it, because I do have a lot of complex feelings on it. Like, it helps me a lot as a writer and for some like creative and strategy ideas. It doesn't do my writing for me. It's really just like a tool to help. But I'm really against it in the art realm of things, because I like to hire and work with true artists and graphic designers. And then they're building all these data centers around my house too, and the environmental impact and health implications and all kinds of crazy stuff. So yeah,
that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah, it's really challenging, because it's on one hand, it's like it helps me in some ways, but also it's like I really hate it in a lot of ways. So I think, you know, it's like anything. There are pros and cons and responsible ways to use it and not. So
yeah, you're absolutely right. To me, it's a tool, right? Like, it could be used in the art world. Like, if you're using it as a sketch, or like, hey, I need 15 ideas to bring to the client and I need them in 30 minutes, like, that's great, right? As a finished product, absolutely not. That's how I see it.
Kind of to wrap up this episode, tell people what's in your garage, what you're loving now, and then where they can connect with you.
Yeah, so I'm kind of a KTM guy through and through. So I got the Husky Norden 901 Expedition now, which is just a KTM in disguise, right? I am absolutely loving this motorcycle. It does everything I want to do. I've only got like 2,000 miles on it, so I don't have much time on it yet. I just sold my 1090 Adventure in order to buy this thing, and I'm actually picking up a used 1200 GSA this weekend, going to see my brother in Louisville, who went to Wisconsin to get this thing for me. So a little bit more time with my son riding on the back of the motorcycle, a little bit more comfort than the 901 is going to give me. Those are the only bikes I have right now. I'd love to add some more if anybody wants to donate a trials bike to me, or a Scherrens or something like that. Like, bring it on. I'll ride it. You guys can definitely find me, like we were talking about, on the Moto Adventurer Unscripted podcast with my buddy Drew Faulkner. Instagram's the best place if you want to connect with me. My Instagram is at ride.wrench.repeat. Ride, wrench, repeat. That's my thing. And yeah, that's it for me.
I love that Instagram handle. Like, it sticks out so much. Like, I've always loved that. So,
well, I always thought I was going to do like t-shirts with it or something. Like, I've got a bunch of designs for it, but just selling $20 t-shirts there's not enough skin in the game for that hassle. You know what I mean? But that was the idea with it. Ride it, wrench on it, repeat.
Yes. I don't want to do the wrenching part, but for some people that's fun.
I love it. I'd much rather work. My bike only goes to a dealership when it absolutely has to. Other than that, I'll bust. My knuckles are all bloody and busted up from working on it.
Well, Mark, thank you for joining me, and thanks to everybody for tuning in to Momentum. This has been a production of High Gear Success. If you want to connect or recommend a guest, head to MomentumMotorsportsPodcast.com. Until next time, keep the momentum rolling.